when we hear things like that, we are quick to talk. But when we hear things like Gayton Mckenzie has acquired a sponsor to make sure Guti spinning becomes an official sport, Gayton Mckenzie has released 5 million to the development of this sport, we don't talk about those things. We just choose to keep quiet. That's the attitude that we have as South Africans. But I don't blame us as South Africans because we are used to too much corruption in such a way that even when we notice something that is positive, we don't see it. We choose to focus only on the negative. So, personally, I am giving props to Mr. Gayton Mckenzie for making sure that he's a man of his word, because we don't want ministers that only come forward and give promises to the public, but when it comes the time to deliver, they are nowhere to be found.
The 5 million, before we recognize the sport fully, we make development funding available for that sport. We've done it with netball, we've done it with cricket, and now we are giving 5 million development funding from the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture for the people to develop the sport. CLC has said that they want to have the biggest CLC spinning championship, and we are going to announce the amount, but I can tell you it's more than $1 million. Red Bull is already involved. Red Bull has just recognized the first athlete. The way they see Sia Kolisi, they see Sam the same way. And Sam has a contract.
The formalization of the sport is well underway.
We are all grateful. We had meetings with most of the spinners, all the provinces. We are busy with the structuring. We got everything under control, and we are all grateful and happy for the opportunity that the minister has given us.
A few select spinners will soon be traveling to Paris to showcase the sport and show the world what spinning is all about.
Yabona, if there's one thing that you have to understand about me or this channel, is that anything that's positive that's happening in South Africa, I am going to talk about it. I know, Guti, as South Africans, we have this tendency of focusing only on the negative things that are happening in our country and neglect the good that is happening. In most cases, the good that is happening in our country is overshadowed by all the bad that is happening. Rightfully so, because the bad outweighs the good. So that's why as us as South Africans, we have this habit of focusing on the bad and choose to neglect the good. Sometimes we don't even realize or see the good that is happening. So everything that I find interesting, that is positive for South Africa, I am going to speak about it on this channel. And please don't be that kind of person, Uguti, when I speak about something positive and then you are going to come to the comment section and say, but yeah, they are failing in this aspect and they are failing in this aspect. Let us learn to appreciate the good that is happening. We are going to talk about a lot of things in this channel, the bad, the good, and everything in between. But when I talk about the positives that are happening in South Africa, let us try to at least appreciate the good that is happening so that where it comes from, so that we can have more good in South Africa. I'm saying that because we all know about Mr. Gayton Mckenzie. We all know Gayton Mckenzie at this point. After this year's elections, he's been a very vocal and public figure. When I say public figure, I mean a figure that's out there in the mainstream news. Every corner, you hear people talking about Gayton Mckenzie. When you go online to these news platforms, Gayton Mckenzie, a week doesn't go by without you seeing something that has to do with Mr. Gayton Mckenzie. So a lot of people have different views and opinions when it comes to this man. Some people are saying, no, this guy is a criminal. He has an agenda that he wants to drive. We shouldn't trust him. We shouldn't trust him, and so forth. And other people are saying, no, this is the kind of person that we need. This is actually the person who can be a candidate for being the president of South Africa because he speaks for the people. He speaks in a voice that people understand. He doesn't like to use big words that are going to only be understood by those who understand political language, but he likes to speak in a voice that is understood by the general public. anyone from South Africa understands what Gayton Mckenzie stands for and what he wants for South Africa. So there are different opinions when it comes to this guy. But what I want to talk about today is holding him to what he promised South Africa when he became the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. All these ministers we have in the GNU have their different promises that they promise the people of South Africa. No, Mina, I'm going to do this. Mina, I'm going to do that. Mina, I'm going to do this. And as a South Africans, we shouldn't just let that thing slide. All of those things that these people said they are going to do, we must make sure we hold them accountable. We must make sure if a person says, a minister say, I'm going to do this in my minister department, I'm going to do this for the country. Let us not just keep quiet when we see that person not doing anything. Let us stand up and ask questions. My guy or my lady, you said you were going to do this. So what's up with that? Why aren't you doing anything? Why are you quiet all of a sudden? So Mr. Gayton Mckenzie, when he took the Sports, Arts and Culture department, he promised to make spinning an official sport in South Africa. We all know spinning, we all love spinning, especially if uphume makasana like me. You know we enjoy spinning. Nje mongathi siziblomele la endleleni nje kuvela ikari nje ivele nje yabona ishaya ama 360 kabuhlungu lapha nje. It's something that we love. Usibona shaya ama flate nje yonke into iba mnandi kasi. You understand? There are even events where I live. There's an event that solely focused on spinning. It's just an event where artists come and perform, famous artists like that, but it's a spinning show. So we've been having that thing for years now, from when I was a little boy, and then up until this point right now. That thing has been there, and it has been a part of our culture as South Africans. We have our legends. Emakasana Swazi, you know this guy. When you want to spin a car, this is the guy that you go to. You understand? So it's been a part of our culture, and it was such a nice thing to see a minister occupy that seat and say, Yazine, this sport, this thing, because I can't say it's a sport because it was not officially recognized. So this thing that us as Black South Africans love, and even coloreds, they really love that sport. I don't really know about white people who they love spinning, but what I know is that coloreds and blacks, they really, really love spinning. So when Gayton Mckenzie said they're going to officialize this sport so that it can be officially a South African sport with competitions, athletes, ganjalo, you understand? So that was very good news for South Africa. So after that, and then we wanted to see whether Gayton Mckenzie is going to live up to this thing that he promised South Africans. He's going to make spinning official sport in South Africa. Now I am happy to say that it seems like Gayton Mckenzie is keeping his word, because right now Gayton Mckenzie has managed to acquire sponsors who are going to sponsor this spinning sport in South Africa. We know they already had Red Bull, but Red Bull, we know Red Bull is interested in things like that, these extreme sports and things like that, the things that a lot of people don't pay attention to. Red Bull likes those kinds of things. So it was no surprise when Red Bull became a part of this thing. But now there are other companies like the CLC. The CLC now has come forward and say no, they are going to be a part of this spinning sport in South Africa. And also the government has also given 5 million rands so that this sport can be developed. So they are saying they are still going to give more into the development of this sport, but they are just giving 5 million to start so that at least maybe the first competition can be organized, and then CLC is going to sponsor that thing because they've agreed to do that. So you see, it's like that. So you can see Gayton Mckenzie is working. He's trying to live up to what he said, and this is only just a baby steps, angali, but it's the step in the correct direction. And when things like this happen in our country, we should make sure we appreciate things like this. We don't just keep quiet when things like this happen. But when maybe Gayton Mckenzie answers something that we don't understand, we are quick to judge and come forward. Yeah, Gayton Mckenzie this and this and that. Like you want to imagine, the EFF is busy taking Gayton Mckenzie to the ethics boards or the ethics committee, whatever that thing is, to say, you know, Gayton Mckenzie, when he went to the Olympics in Paris this year, he misused the taxpayers' money by going there. So he was spending money ngendlela engasi sharp, you see. And then when we hear things like that, we would know the EFF is taking this guy to the ethics committee because they are claiming he misused the taxpayers' money. We are quick to talk about those things. We are quick to talk about those things, even though some of those things are false. Njengoba sazi ukuthi yona le EFF is false, because Gayton Mckenzie came forward with the proof on how he spent the money when he was there. So I don't know why the EFF chose to take him to the ethics board committee or whatever that thing is. So when we hear things like that, we are quick to talk. But when we hear things like Gayton Mckenzie has acquired a sponsor to make sure Guti spinning becomes an official sport, Gayton Mckenzie has released 5 million to the development of this sport, we don't talk about those things. We just choose to keep quiet. That's the attitude that we have as South Africans. But I don't blame us as South Africans, because we are used to too much corruption in such a way that even when we notice something that is positive, we don't say it. We choose to focus only on the negative. So mina personally, I am giving props to Mr. Gayton Mckenzie for making sure he's a man of his word, because we don't want ministers that only come forward and give promises to the public, but when it comes the time to deliver, they are nowhere to be found. And I always say this, and I'm going to always say it when I say Mr. Gayton Mckenzie seems like he's the type of leader that we want in South Africa. You know, I say this because of he's not afraid to speak. He's not afraid to give clarity when there's confusion. You know, a lot of these ministers and people who occupy executive and high positions don't like to speak. A person will just keep quiet even when there's something that the public doesn't understand about them. They'll just choose to keep quiet. But the thing I like about Gayton Mckenzie is that he's very vocal. He doesn't like to hide. So when someone attacks him, or when someone tries to claim, no, Gayton Mckenzie did this and this and this, he makes sure he comes forward and gives his side of the story and gives proof. No, that's not the truth. This is the truth, and here is the proof. That's why I like Mr. Gayton Mckenzie. Like EFF, if it was someone else, he was just going to keep quiet and say, no, the public will just have to believe me, even though I don't say anything. But Gayton Mckenzie came forward with the proof and say, look, for accommodation, I spend this much. For transportation, I spend this much. For flight, I spend this much. And here's the proof. So that's the kind of leader that we want as South Africans. I don't know if you agree with me or not. But if you don't, Nakona, you can tell me on the comment section, why don't you agree with me? But that's not the point of today's video. The point of today's video is to give credit where it's due for Gayton Mckenzie taking steps into making sure spinning becomes an official sport in South Africa, because we enjoy and we love spinning in South Africa. And we know for a fact with black people and coloreds, not excluding the whites and the Indians and the other races that we have in South Africa, because it might happen they also enjoy the sport, not excluding them, but mainly we know that it's a sport that is enjoyed by coloreds and black South Africans. So we applaud and we appreciate Mr. Gayton Mckenzie trying to officialize these sports and actually standing on his words and working on making sure this sport becomes official. So that's just what I wanted to talk about today in this video. So make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed this video or you learned something new. If maybe you have a different opinion, or maybe you want to give credit, you can tell me now in the comment section down below. No, we must appreciate Mr. Gayton Mckenzie for this. If you think we shouldn't appreciate him, tell me on the comment section down below. Thank you for joining me in today's video. My name is Emmanuel, and this is Mzansi Versity, the place where we transform lives through knowledge and information. Let's meet again on another video.